Right, today we will look at two very closely related suttas in SD 50.25, the Navaka Sandittika Sutta 1 and Sutta 2. The ninth discourse on what is seen for oneself, Sandittika, A 9.46 and A 9.47. These two suttas, they're almost identical word for word except for one line. That's the line where the Buddha says what he's teaching about. In the case of the first sutta, it is A 9.46. That key line, the word used is Dharma, directly visible Dharma, Sandittika Dhamma. Whereas in the second sutta, the word there is nirvana, is nirvana itself. So it's very interesting why these two words are used. The structure, the pattern of these two suttas are the same, that they follow what is called the structure of the 9 progressive abodes, Anupubha Vihara. These refer to the 4 form dhyanas, then the 4 formless dhyanas, and the last one is cessation. Okay, so these are the 9. Cessation here represents the living saint's experience of nirvana, if you like. They get into that state and experience it in this life itself. So Sandittika is a very important word here. We often reflect on the Dhamma as Sandittika, to be personally experienced or to be seen here and now. So there are two aspects. One is in terms of time, the other is in terms of object, if you like. So when we experience the Dhamma, it is something that is going on right now. That's reality, the nowness of it. And that is to keep your mind on the object all the time. Then the nirvana also is said to be Sandittika for the saints as they experience it. So nirvana is said to be Sandittika in that sense. It is personally experienced. You cannot do it vicariously for someone else. It's just like you're hungry, you eat. You don't eat for someone else. So in that sense, it's very simple, the structure, but of course the teaching is based on some very deep, very complex teachings. So one more thing for me to explain, by the way. So here we have, as I said, in the Navaka Sandittika Dhamma 1, Sutta 1 rather, Navaka Sandittika Sutta 1, the keyword there is the directly visible Dharma. So Dharma here refers to all those 8 stages or 9 stages of the practice. And Dharma here, in a sense, we can say provisionally, the word provisionally is also used in the sutta, pariyaya, include nirvana. But as we know very well, nirvana is not really a state. Nirvana is a non-state, in manner of speaking. See, of course, we come to this philosophical aspect of Buddhism. It's very important to understand nirvana is not something we can talk about, we can try to talk about it, but it is an experience. It's just like, you think of your favorite food. No matter how much you discuss about it, no matter how much you talk about it, you tell your friends how nice it is, how much you have eaten of it, and how it is prepared. You can even show pictures of it. It is still not that curry. but you have to eat that dish. That's all there is to it, really. So nirvana is that kind of situation. It's experiential. So here the teaching is to remind us that such an experience is possible. That's the purpose why we talk about nirvana, because of the possibility of nirvana. This sutta is simply titled Sanditthika Sutta. So I put Nawaka in front to identify that it is from the Book of Nines in the Anguttara, and you have Sutta 1, Sutta 2. They have other names which are listed in the heading there. You can look at it when you like. So let's look at page 90 for the Nawaka Sanditthika Sutta 1. Originating is Kosambi. So here we see the Buddha teaching quite far to the west of India, Kosambi. The Buddha starts by saying, directly visible state. Directly visible state, also. It is said, how also has the Blessed One spoken the directly visible state? So here, the starting point is Sanditthika Dhamma. What is this Sanditthika Dhamma? Okay.
Is Ananda speaking right?
Yeah. Here, yes. In this case, yes. This one is probably Ananda speaking. Then you have the other sutta, which is page 94. This one seems to be also spoken by Ananda. So it looks like they are spoken on two different occasions. Okay, very often you see this kind of versions of the suttas, because we're talking about the Dhammas being taught for over 45 years while Buddha was alive, and then after that, for a few more years, they're still recorded. So here, the teacher is saying, okay, what does the Buddha mean by this word Sanditthika Dhamma? Then the first section says the first dhyana, okay? Section 3. Here also a monk quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome mental states, attains and dwells in the first dhyana, accompanied by initial application and sustained application, and with zest and happiness born of solitude. So here you have the 5 dhyana factors. Okay, you have initial application, sustained application, you have zest, happiness, and then this solitude of mind. So these are the 5 dhyana factors. He dwells having touched that base. Here the base means that state of meditation with the body, meaning personally experience. It is as it is attained, and he understands it with wisdom. Understand it with wisdom means when he comes out of it, or when thought does arise while he's meditating, he sees all these experiences within him as being conditioned and impermanent, and so on. Reflects rising and falling. That's the meaning of with wisdom. To that extent, also, the Blessed One has spoken of the directly visible Dharma in a provisional or relative way. There you are. It's because here we're talking about something very profound, something experiential, something personal. We're putting into words. So the term pariyaya, provisional, relative, we are putting it into words. We're putting something experiential into words. That's the meaning. Okay. Of course, you may say, okay, what does this mean? It means we just have to be careful. These are words, so not to read too much into it. It is just to tell us this is something to be experienced, that is inviting you to come and see. It's inviting you to meditate. So that's the first dhyana. Then everything's repeated in similar pattern. For the second dhyana, it is defined. Second forces, and furthermore, also a monk with the stilling of initial application and sustained application, by gaining inner tranquility and oneness of mind, attains and dwells in the second dhyana. And then the factors, dhyana factors are given, free from initial application and sustained application. So -2. Okay, there are 5 dhyana factors. The first 2 are gone. They kind of resolve. So there's only with zest and happiness born of concentration. So only second dhyana we talk of mental concentration. And everything is repeated in the next 2 lines. He dwells having touched that base with the body as it is attained, and he understands it with wisdom. To that extent too, also the Blessed One has spoken of the directly visible Dhamma in a provisional relative manner. Right? So here we have only 3 dhyana factors as a second dhyana. So the experience of dhyana is the true renunciation, the letting go of mental states bit by bit. Then the third dhyana, with the fading away of zest. So if the zest, that kind of exuberant joy, is resolved, it's gone. So we only left with this bodily and mental comfort called sukha, bodily and mental comfort, and this wonderful focus of mind. Okay, so this is experienced directly by the meditator, and this is called the directly visible Dharma, because we experience this directly here and now for ourselves. Then section 4, fourth dhyana, section brackets 4, and this is in section 6. And furthermore, also a monk with the abandoning of joy and pain, and with the earlier disappearance of pleasure and displeasure, attains and dwells in the 4th dhyana. So here, even sukha itself is resolved, is overcome, is gone. There is no experience of physical pleasure, physical pain, mental pleasure, mental pain, all gone. There is this only equanimity, so this is the 4th dhyana. So now, what's interesting here is, in a sense, there's only one dhyana. There's a first dhyana. Then we start refining. As we meditate, we start refining this first dhyana and become second, third, fourth, by letting go of the dhyana factors. Now we come to the 4th dhyana, and the 4th dhyana is very interesting in its own way, because it forms the basis of the other 4 formless dhyana. From the formless dhyana of this wonderful equanimity arises the next attainment. So the last 4 dhyana are called attainments. We call them the 4 attainment samapatti. So we have section 7, and furthermore, also a monk having, by the way, the word monk means meditator. Buddha Ghosha says refers to anyone who's meditating. Having completely transcended perception of form with the disappearance of perceptions of resistance. Here resistance means the experiencing of the senses, okay? Through non-attention to the perception of diversity, in other words, not experiencing any kind of sense experiences, contemplating infinite space, attains and dwells in the sphere of infinite space. So here this meditator gets out of that wonderful state. The mind is very equanimous, and it reflects infinite space. Okay, and that's the object. This is just a word, but this meditator sees in his mind infinite space. So it's not something he says into being, it's rather he experiences it. This was used for our understanding, for our knowledge. So in doing so, he experiences this infinite space in his mind. So that is his object. Okay. Then in the next attainment, section 8, and furthermore, also among having completely transcended the sphere of infinite space, contemplating infinite consciousness. attains and dwells in the sphere of infinite consciousness. Right, so here this is how the meditator, by letting go of this object of infinite space, sees before himself infinite consciousness. Right, so this is the second of the sphere of form. It's called a formless sphere, or formless jhana, or formless attainment. Okay, so this is the sixth stage of the whole set. And then the meditator continues, section 9 now. And furthermore, Avuso, a monk having completely transcended the sphere of infinite consciousness, contemplating there is nothing, attains and dwells in the sphere of nothingness. So, notice again, this person has started meditating from first jhana. You have to go through, right? Starting from first jhana, go through up to the fourth. And then using the fourth as the basis, it goes into formlessness. So by letting go of the object one by one. So first he lets go of the idea of form, and so it's this infinite space, that's the object. Then he lets go of the object of infinite space, and then there is infinite consciousness. That is section 8. Then section 9, he goes into, he renounces, he lets go of this object of infinite consciousness. He completely transcends the sphere of infinite consciousness, and with that he attains the last of the formless state, the formless attainment. This is section 10. It's got quite a long name here. He attains the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception. Because at this point, let's recap again. It's quite tricky here. First, this person, the meditator, renounces form. Then he sees space, infinite space. Okay, and it lets go of the object of space as nothing, nothingness. Okay, and as an object, but it's still an object. Then he lets go of that object of nothingness. Then there is neither perception nor non-perception. Here, in other words, we cannot say there is consciousness or there is no consciousness. Here the word sanya refers to consciousness. Normally sanya is translated as perception of seeing things, but here of course it's already in very deep meditation. So consciousness is just simply used as an aspect of the mind. This is one of those problems in early Buddhism where it is easier to understand if we do not take all these words technically. In other words, you have to see the context and see how the words fit in. Right? So when we use the word sanya here, it refers to consciousness, it refers to this, what remains of the mind in that very refined state of meditation. Okay, the non-awakened ones come up to only this level. Then comes the ninth state, the last, cessation of perception and feeling. Now, in order to attain up to this level, you got to go through all the previous 8. They are like rooms within rooms within rooms until you go to the innermost chamber, the sanctus sanctum, if you like. So that's the ninth stage, only attainable by the Buddha and Arhats. So here, look at section 11. Ananda says, furthermore, Avuso, a monk, having completely transcended the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, attains and dwells in the cessation of perception and feeling. So this state is, by normal standards, by worldly standards, is that of death. There's no more signs of life there. In other words, death as the world knows it, but this person is still alive, because when he comes out of it, he can come back into this world. So there you are. This is the ninth direct visible Dharma spoken of by the Buddha. So you see here, these are 9 stages. So the question now is, the second sutta says instead of using Dharma, it uses Nibbana. So in other words, it says, okay, after the first dhyana, then the sutta says to the extent this person attains Nirvana. So in other words, here we have to understand that Nirvana can be attained at any of those 8 stages, the 8 dhyanas, if you like, the four formless dhyana and the four form dhyanas and 4 formless dhyanas. Of course, we don't include the cessation because that is kind of an experience of the arahats and the Buddhas. So let's say someone meditates just first jhana, he comes out of it, he reflects on it as being impermanent, and so attains nirvana. So that's one way, and you can go on a second, third, fourth, and so on. So this shows the variety of arahats that can arise to the different dhyanas. So here again we see all these teachings given to us. They are, in a sense, like computer codes. The words are not really complete. They are like musical notes. When I say complete, I have to be careful because some people may say, oh, the suttas are not complete. That's not what I mean. When you look at a piece of music, it is complete. But it is not complete in the sense that you got to play it. But even playing it is not complete. You have to listen to it. So there are 3 aspects. You have the notes, you have the playing, and then you have the listening of it. That gives you a complete experience of this piece of this musical score. Okay, so the sutta is like a musical score. Okay? It gives us all these teachings. It's complete to that extent as far as words allow us. Then from our experience, we look at it and we say, oh, okay, this is what it means. And you play that Dhamma music to the audience. You explain it and say, this is what it is. And the purpose of this light music is, of course, to inspire joy in the listener. Why joy? Because we want to inspire them to practice. And from there, attain the same joyful state as the Buddha did, as the Arahat state. So it is in that spirit we have to understand the Navaka Sanditthika Sutta 1 and Sutta 2, okay, talking about all the 9 progressive stage abodes and the attaining of Arahathood. So do reflect on the suttas, and lots of notes there which you can also study in your own time. So let us close now with a short reflection. The Buddha's teaching is something we experience within ourselves. In the sutta we see the word to experience with the body. So there you are. We should not take words literally. With the body means personally, for ourselves, through our own experience. We see the Dhamma, and this Dhamma changes us. That is why personal experience is very important. And this change brings us joy and peace, because we see the true reality of what is within us and what is outside of us. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. But about such good karma, may we be blessed with the courage and wisdom to aspire at least to stream winning in this life itself. And also by the power of the 3 jewels, let us cultivate loving kindness for our own well-being and wisdom and diligence to study and practice the Dhamma, to attain awakening in this life itself. And also to radiate this loving kindness to all our loved ones, our families, and those who have been kind and supportive of us, and to those who are practicing the Dhamma for attaining awakening in this life itself. And finally, too, may by the power of the 3 jewels, all those who have difficulties with the Dhamma see the true teaching in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.